Good evening, everybody. Welcome to VOLKSVOORBEREIDING. That's Volk Prep in English. Tonight's discussion is Get Out of the Cities. Last week we had a discussion about why it is important to be self-sufficient or to be able to do homesteading, to provide food for yourself. We looked at articles that stated here that about the scarcity and the crisis of food, the need for food around the world. And if we look here, it says what are food crises and how many people are affected by them. And it said here that more than 155 million people experienced acute food insecurities at crisis level or worse around the world in 2020, an increase of 20 million from 2019, and a 5-year high as the number 19 situation going on. Compounded economic shocks, conflict and climate and severe weather impacts estimate the 21 global report on food crisis. So pretty much if you're in a city and there is a food crisis or something happening, you are going to be in a very tough situation. We also looked at other articles, and now for instance this is the homesteading. Pretty much to be able to grow your own crops, food, vegetables, livestock doesn't necessarily mean that you all will be predominantly be busy with farming, but you will provide your own resources to be able to look after yourself and feed yourself, and that's also as a community. But why it is so important to get out of the cities is if we look at a different situation, which would be a political or a violent reason. If we looked at the situation in Afghanistan at the moment and what happened there this year, how the one side took over the country with force and some not so nice actions, that the people in the cities were in harsh, terrible conditions, and you don't excuse me, you don't want to find yourself in that situation, because usually it's always just the most populated areas that are hit the first and the hardest, which is usually the worst situations. If we look at what happened in South Africa this year, in Natal in July, with the looting that happened, if you look at the pictures, how they destroyed everything, they burned, they looted, absolute chaos, and how they stopped and burned the food trucks, the trucks that were supposed to deliver the food, and that created a result where people had to queue outside shops for long hours for a little bit of food, because they completely stopped the supply line of the food resources coming in. And you don't want to find yourself in that situation. But even food, even in a violent situation, in a SHTF scenario where the economy collapses or there's complete total anarchy and chaos, people will start behaving differently, especially when they are in need of resources to live by, like food and all those things. So people will start acting very differently and violently, and there will be gangs formed. So the situation will be completely horrific in the most dense populated areas. But also a thing that plays a part, and as an example now, in South Africa, they are trying to implement stricter gun laws. You guys in the West know that how they are trying to implement the gun control, and they're trying to take away the Second Amendment. And it says here, gun control in South Africa, tightening the law and more. And it says here the practicalities of civilian disarmament. So they are trying to take away the firearms from the civilians in South Africa. Now, I did hear a rumor that they will not succeed because it's still in progress. But remember, everywhere around the world where there was a confiscation of firearms, there was a massacre. Go and do your research. You can read up about that. But even in like you guys say in the West, they're trying to implement this. And the moment the state takes away your firearms, you are vulnerable to them, against them, and of course people that are not on your side. Certain words I cannot use because of the monetization on YouTube. But Another example that here in South Africa, during that time when they looted, there was a ammunition delivery, a truck, looted and stolen. And it says massive ammunition theft in Durban raises fear of increased volatility and political violence in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, what happened was it was about, I think, plus minus 1.5 million rounds of ammunition. So this wasn't just a normal looting, this was orchestrated. And the interesting part about that, at the same time, there were warehouses raided. And they didn't take any TVs, they didn't take any stuff. What they did take was dry food and resources. Now, the moment at the same time period, ammunition in the millions gets stolen, and the dry preparedness, prepping food, were also taken, means that something is going on. You can put one on one together. So you do not want to find yourself in a situation where the population density is the most, because the violent act and the total anarchy and chaos between people is going to go in such a high red level of danger that you do not want to find yourself in a situation. Me, myself, I am in progress of looking for work on the other side of the country. So I am predominantly in the capital, which is more in the eastern side of the country, and I'm trying to get to the west, or somewhere in the middle, or by the coast, which is a much quieter area. Obviously there are such situations and things that can happen, but I am trying to move and get away out of the city to a more quiet, remote area, still with possibilities for salary and work and growing yourself, which is completely difficult at this time anywhere around the world. Now, if you look, for example, we look at the population map of the United States, you can see that obviously the darker red, those are the most popular dense areas, and obviously the white is no data, or the lighter is the less populated. So the whole idea of getting out of these populated areas is because most of the food and the resources comes here from the countryside out of, because you don't grow farms and livestock inside the city unless you have in certain circumstances where you have livestock. But the mass production of food for the civilians, the vast majority of civilians, comes here from the countryside. And if anything happens and there's a collapse, people will start trying to take it. So you have to protect that food and try and get out of the city and form a much big community as you can. Strength in numbers. We in South Africa have different communities. We actually are part of one big massive initiative, but we are all different parts of communities, all in their own areas, and we will be moving out of areas to other areas to protect food, to be self-sufficient, and protect the whole infrastructure and community we're going to build. If you look, so for instance, all these guys on the west coast of California, look how populated it is there, and obviously on the east coast, the northeast coast of the USA, which I presume would be New Jersey upwards. I'm not familiar with states, and obviously here by Wisconsin side, and here Miami side down southeast, very, very dense populated. You do not want to be in that situation. If you take, for example, the Walking Dead situation, where there's that city with all those cars on the highway, stack. Trying to get out of those in a time of chaos is complete anarchy. We have a plan or an initiative where we try and get out of the cities with as much stock as we have to get out to a safer area, to make life easier for ourselves. And the more stuff you have with you, the more preparation you have with you, the easier it is to actually build yourself up again, or temporarily maintain yourself and then build community for safety as well. I will not get too much into the security aspect, because there are certain rules and laws, not only in South Africa but around the world as well. But South Africa do have certain rules and laws which I do not want to step over. But if we look furthermore, this is a picture of the Northwest, or North America if you want. Now obviously I can see that certain parts of Canada and above is not in, but if you look at the south here, Mexico is completely overpopulated in most areas. So there, those guys need to find a way. And then here on the eastern side of the islands, very bad. If you look at the USA, you can see that pretty much almost half of the entire east is a lot populated. And I know there's a lot of farms, but if you look at the Wyoming area, the Montana area, Idaho, where I plan on going one day in my life, I really love Idaho. I'd love to go to Alaska and Idaho. My dream is I want to live in a log cabin by the lake, by the mountains, and just look after myself, live mostly off the land. I want to pretty much be in my own kind of jacuzzi, shoot moose for food, and just live in a log cabin and grow old. That by beautiful scenery. And go on pension early. That's my life goals. But yeah, because it's way out of. And you guys live in those of you guys who live in the not the rural, the most the CBD areas, the most dense political areas, there is just so much stuff going on. People are different, and it's a fast-paced life, and it's just it gets too much for us. If you're someone like me who likes peace and quiet, it's a terrible kind of life. So I'm definitely planning on going to or finding work on a better place in our country, and then long term, eventually one day I want to go north. I want to go to the quiet, beautiful areas. But here on the USA, you can see I think this is Nevada or Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, all these farming areas. There's a lot of food over there, if I'm correct. Not the desert areas, but I know here in Central America and then obviously on the east, there's a lot of farming as well. But you guys need to get out into more quiet areas and protect the food and keep your food production going, because the most important thing in any SHTF scenario is food production. Because if people do not have food, they cannot live and sustain themselves. He who controls food controls the future. And if you look here at South Africa, you can see obviously here in this is the Central Transvaal. It's now called, for the left, it's called Gauteng. Completely overpopulated, especially the towns and the surrounding townships around them is crazy. I think there's about 40 million people here in Gauteng, if I'm correct, something like that, or 20 million or something. It's insane. And then obviously in the northern Transvaal, the Limpopo area, there's a lot. Here in the eastern side, the eastern Transvaal, which is big farming as well, there's a lot of populated as well, and it's obviously close to the Mozambican border. And then here you can see on the southeastern side, from Natal all the way down to Port Elizabeth, East London, especially Natal, and next to Natal, it's very overpopulated, like crazy. So you want to get out of this area, because if this economical system and the infrastructure here collapses and it's total chaos and anarchy, you don't want to live here. You want to go somewhere where it's a lot more quiet. And obviously, yeah, you can see Cape Town as well. So in a situation where there's a lot of people, there's going to be a lot worse situation. Now, obviously, the situation can grow and it can go to different directions. But especially in the first actions and plan of a civil unrest, of a economic collapse, of even natural disasters, you want to get out of the density populated places. You want to go up, and if you can, plan and find a new life or build a life in a more rural area, because long term it's going to be a lot safer, and it has a lot of tactical advantages as well, but I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, predominantly, guys, I think it's important, and actually there's a lot of different organizations around the world that says this as well. There's been studies done that is, and even if we can get into the theological, which means the biblical aspect and the warnings in the Bible, it says get out of the cities. And we know, those who know the Bible and the scriptures, what happened in the cities like Sodom and Gomorrah and all those other big places. There's a lot in the Bible actually. The situation and the word warns us to get out of the cities. But I don't want to go into the whole religion theological system now. I want to look at at this political, food and economical structure. If we go theological, we can talk the whole day, which obviously is important, definitely important. But since there is so many different vast groups, I want to keep it maintained into one, just in one group. But yeah, guys, eventually just get out of the cities, try and plan a new life. And basically getting out of the cities and being self-sufficient is the way the old life was 100 years ago, 150 years ago. People actually just lived on the farms. They did work in the cities and the mines, but they went home and they took care of themselves. And obviously and you will learn so much to survive as well. But yeah, this is just something I thought I would share with you guys, which is an important thing, because I actually sat and I thought about this for a long time. And it is vastly important to get out of the cities, because where anarchy goes, there where the most people are, is going to be the worst destination and the worst chaos. Because if you evacuate to an area, because South Africa is a bit different because there's so many vast cultures and political systems, but even in the West, or if you're up north in Europe, you want to get out of the cities, make a community, and from there you build infrastructure, because the infrastructure is where it's the most dense populated, will completely collapse and it'll be the worst. And you want to put yourself in a situation where it's more beneficial and a better circumstances for yourself. So do some research, look or see what's going to be the best area for you and where you fit in, and make a long-term plan and move there, because I can promise you it's going to be a lot beneficial for yourself and for your family. I'll see you guys in the next time. Keep well and look after yourselves. All the best, guys. Bye bye.